You guys remember this? So this is the economic state of Black America. This was published in 2021. It's about a 152-page report. What is and what could be. So basically what this does, gentlemen and ladies, if you're in the chat, it gives you a blueprint or overview as to where the Black community stands in regards to finances and what we need to do to change this moving forward. And if we don't, the Black community is going to be in dire straits. And that's why I said that we don't have time to be arguing about 50-50. Seriously. The state of the Black economic community is bad. And I know we go back and forth in regards to who makes more. We already understand those statistics. But as a whole, we got to do better. And the more time we spend on these frivolous topics, especially for Black women to be going around there spreading off this dumb rhetoric that they need a man to pay all their bills and I'm going to keep all my money. And I say that for a particular reason. The Black community cannot afford to be alienating certain groups of our community. In particular, y'all cannot afford to be sitting there trying to be on your high horse when you see a Black man marry a white woman and then try and dismiss his contributions to the Black community because of that. So when you get a Robert Smith, a billionaire who's doing what he can to help the Black community, and y'all gonna sit there and say it don't matter because his generational wealth is not going to Black women, is not going to the Black community, we cannot afford to be removing that guy from the Black community. Y'all agree or disagree? And y'all gonna understand why I say that now. So just to give y'all an overview, in this report, they mentioned Black men 15 times. For Black women, it's mentioned 39 times. Y'all see that? Who do you think needs the most help in regards to finances in the Black community? Black women. And y'all have the nerve to be sitting there trying to look down on men who are trying to provide and protect this family. Do y'all really have any room to be dismissing guys like that? Black entrepreneurs often hit structural and market barriers, starting with the difficulty of securing startup capital loans. And this is just some of the key points that was pointed out in this article. 6.7 million Black workers hold jobs that are vulnerable to disruption by 2030. You know what that means? Disruption means those jobs will be gone because of technology. Because Black people tend to work in hospitality areas, service departments, service areas. These jobs are being replaced because of our technology. Do you think the Black community has time to be talking about this BS 50-50 stuff when we're facing this crisis? 1.6 trillion annual revenue gap between Black and non-Black owned businesses. An important measure of health outcomes is life expectancy. Just talked about this. In 2018, life expectancy at birth was 76.2 years for white men, but 71.3 years for Black men. That's a 5-year difference. It was 81.1 years for white women, but 78 years for Black women. You guys see that? So there is a 7-year difference of life expectancy for Black men and Black women. And we just talked about health. A lot of this stuff is preventative, guys. Black men, y'all don't have time to be fooling around with women who won't get on your program. I'm sorry, guys. You don't have time. A Black-white wealth gap exists at every tier of income. Listen to this. The median Black household has only about 1/8 of the wealth held by the median white household. The actual dollar amounts are striking. While the median white household has amassed $188,000, the median Black family has about $24,000. This translates into diminished prospects for home ownership, funding college education for children, or simply having enough to fall back on when the unexpected occurs. $188,000 compared to $24,000. And again, Black men, you will not get credit for all the issues that we had to go through with civil rights, the Moynihan Report, slavery, however you want to cut it. Black men don't get that grace. So what you guys are seeing here, we know that it has a lot to do with that. We know it has a lot to do with Black men being over-policed, heavily incarcerated, but we don't get that grace, guys. And I wish I could say it was different, but it's not. Man, in relative terms, the racial wealth gap is widest between the poorest households. White households below the 30th percentile may be struggling, but they have 40 times more wealth than similarly situated Black households. So even when Black people are poor, even when we're poor, we still have a tougher time at 40 times than the white households. And we running around here, and I'm saying we, Black women running around here saying everybody make $100,000 a year. Shout out to Kendra G. I said Kendra Samuels. She been on one recently. Sitting there saying that every Black woman makes $100,000 a year when it's only 3%. And Black women are more impoverished than Black men. So who do you think those numbers affect the most? White households at the 10th percentile have only $950 in wealth, but their Black counterparts are in debt with a negative net worth of almost $13,000. It is one thing to be poor in America. It is another thing entirely to be poor and Black in America. White people in the 10th percentile, the lowest, $950 net worth, positive. Black folks, $13,000 in debt. Yeah. Black households are less likely to hold longer-term assets. The Black home ownership rate at the end of 2020 stood at 44%, which is 30 percentage points below the 74% home ownership rate of white Americans. While 18% of white households own stocks, the rate for Black households is 6.7%. Consequently, Black households are not positioned for gains when homes appreciate in value or the stock market has an upswing. So, at the very least, if you're a Black investor, it's only 6.7% of y'all. The disparities facing Black households overall are magnified for Black women. If there's Black women listening, listen to this. The disparities facing Black households overall are magnified for Black women who earn less, but often shoulder responsibility for their family's well-being. 47% of Black children live with their mothers. The median wealth of single Black women is $200, while the median wealth for single white men is $28,000, almost $29,000. Let me read that one more time. The median wealth of single Black women is $200. That's about the same rate that we hear our Black women asking their dates to be. $200 dates. Your median wealth is $200. You really think that you got any room to be talking about Black men being broke? All right, that's what I thought. Had the nerve to be calling somebody broke. Y'all need to be starting to try and partner with people. By contrast, Black workers are underrepresented in higher paying professions relative to their 13% share of the labor force. Only 5% of U.S. physicians are Black. 5%. for example, which has implications for the quality of care. I talked about this. In particular, I talked about it for Black women. Software developers are highly compensated, but only 4.5% are Black. 4.5%. The advancement of Black women into higher paying positions is critical in light of the role they play in providing economic stability for their families. Women of all races are less represented in leadership roles, but women of color face double hurdles of sexism and racism. A study of 590 U.S. corporations found that only 58 Black women are promoted into manager roles for every 100 men. 64 Black women are hired directly into these roles for every 100 men. We got all these women talking about they boss babes and I'm working in corporate. Y'all need to start asking questions. What do you exactly do in corporate? It's a lot of things that fall under the umbrella of having a corporate position. We need to start asking questions because these numbers ain't looking too right. Another point from the McKinsey report, another factor is gender. In roughly 85% of jobs within occupation wage gaps, Black women are paid less than both white women and Black men. There it goes again. But for some odd reason, the Black community swears that Black women make more money than us. They also have a significant presence in teaching, accounting, financial manager, and retail first-line supervisor roles, all occupations with substantial wage gaps between Black and white workers. Those are lower paying positions. Once again, trying to help here, man. And y'all get off your, fictitious high horse and start listening and start reading these statistics. 2030 is right around the corner. It's just a damn shame that this stuff is considered bashing. Trying to help y'all. Significant wage gaps also exist within occupational categories. On top of skewed representation, pay gaps exist between Black and white workers within occupational categories. This issue accounts for $96 billion or 44% of the overall disparity. It is especially noteworthy that Black workers who do advance into managerial and leadership ranks are often paid less than white counterparts. Yeah, it's still happening. We still get paid less. We just talked about this. We got to work harder, but we still get paid less. And this is something that most people don't focus on. What happens when we do retire? Listen, the methodology for determining Social Security benefits disadvantages Black retirees according to how long they receive benefits and the size of the checks they get. On average, Black retirees have 4 fewer years between retirement and life expectancy than white retirees. Further, Black workers generally hold lower paying jobs, as described in Chapter 2, and then their Social Security benefits are calculated on those lower earnings. Lifetime earnings are 1/3 lower on average for Black men than for white men, and 13% lower for Black women than for white women. Social Security then locks that gap into place permanently. Mean lifetime benefits are 1/3 lower for Black retirees than white retirees, $170,000 versus $260,000, for an annual difference of $2,500. So that's another point that people fail to recognize. Even though Black people, we work, we retire, we still don't get paid as much as white people. So do you think it's about time that the Black community starts promoting healthy families? And do you think that it's time for the Black community to start acknowledging the truth instead of keeping Black men and women at odds by feeding Black women lies? Man, and I'm saying this, I'm good, man. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all. I'm good. I'm working on my second retirement. And I'm still out here trying to help the Black community, man, because I know it's about to be tough. Now, this is important. This what box 5 was titled, She's the Boss. Listen to this. Before the pandemic, Black women constituted the fastest growing entrepreneurial demographic. We talked about this and how they word things. The overall number of women-owned businesses grew by 21% from 2014 to 2019, while those funded by Black women grew by 50%. Their presence is strongest in healthcare and education, and lightest in agriculture, construction, and wholesale trade. Those are jobs that are going to be here regardless. They ain't going nowhere. Despite their growing numbers, the challenges are still apparent in the fact that firms led by Black women average roughly half the revenue of firms led by Black men. The exception is in information technology, where firms headed by Black women post higher revenues. Now, this is the today's imbalances influence future trajectory. I was just talking about this. Let's start with the blocks. These shifts include more remote and hybrid work, which could depress demand in accommodation and food service. I just talked about this. These are some of the jobs that are going to be alleviated. The booming growth of e-commerce and delivery services and the adoption of automation and AI. These are the things that are going to replace these jobs that a lot of Black people hold. What is it? 6.7 million? We need to start focusing. Automation technologies were already reshaping the American workplace before the pandemic. As a wide body of MGI research has noted, automation will cause some occupations to shrink and others to grow. Perhaps its biggest effect will be changing the time allocation associated with many jobs. I told you guys that the more people that they remove from the offices, the less people they need to clean those offices and do all those other minimal tasks that are not required anymore because of remote and hybrid work. And since Black people are overrepresented in those occupations, who is it going to affect first? Us. You see that there? Black families are concentrated in low net worth brackets and underrepresented in higher net worth brackets. Let me make this a little wide so we can be clear. What you're looking at here is the negative net worth of Black families, which stands at 19%. 19% of our family households are at a negative net worth compared to 8% of white families. $24,000 median Black household wealth as opposed to $188,000, like I stated. And let's go over here. In the higher categories, net worth of $1 million and up, there is literally only 2% of Black families that have a net worth of $1 million or more. Remember, I said families, 2%. And we still got women going out here talking about they still want to work and not contribute to the household while the man pays all their bills. When we know now that only 2% of our families make over $1 million. And that's compared to white families with 16% that make over $1 million. Let's scroll down. And this is the numbers. Number of families, negative net worth. 3.5 million of our families have negative net worth. 4.3 million of our families have $0 to $10,000 net worth. And only 340,000 Black families have a net worth of $1 million. And that's compared to number of white families with 6.7 million. But go back up here. That only represents 8% of their community. 6.8 million, 0 to 10,000 net worth, and 13 million white people families have a net worth of $1 million or more. Now, it says, note, mean Black household net worth is about $143,000. Mean white household net worth is about $983,000. And the source is a Federal Reserve survey of consumer finance, 2019. Just in case anybody wants, let's fact check this. Go ahead, do what you need to do. And this is to clear up a misconception. Help the excluded into the labor market. Mass incarceration has a lifetime of consequences as people struggle to find work after their release. One study estimated that among formerly incarcerated, 43.6% of Black women and 35.2% of Black men are unemployed, compared with 23.2% of white women and 18.4% of white men. Now, what they're saying, guys, formerly incarcerated, Black women have a higher rate of unemployment compared to Black men. So even when Black women get out of prison, the Black women who were in prison, they have a harder time finding employment than Black men who were incarcerated. Did y'all know that? One organization focused on making re-entry possible is Homeboy Industries, which offers work experience and social enterprises that in turn fund mental health programs for thousands of clients annually. The Homeboy model has expanded into a global network of 400 community-based initiatives.
To walk into Homeboy is to be radically accepted. It is a place of the deepest kind of inclusion, and that gives people purpose.
Hey Benji, tell us who we are. Educational class schedule, youth re-entry center, tattoo removal, cafe, what do you got for us? Bakery, merch, tours, visitors, and such. Jesus, please lead us in prayer.
You guys could please bow your head. I want to pray for Homeboy Industries. I want to pray for everybody out there.
When I first came to Homeboy, I didn't really know what to expect. When I walked in, it was so much love given to me to where it was like, oh, I can relax.
So that's one of the solutions that they're trying to help Black men and Black women, get back into the workforce after they've been incarcerated. And this Black women need to listen, need to read this. I'll read these two things. Black women are rent burdened or living in substandard homes. That's how you get the most evicted statistic. Now, single parenthood has become increasingly common in the United States. According to the census data, nearly half of Black children live with their mothers only. More than half of Black mothers are single breadwinners, a far higher share than for any other racial or ethnic group. The economic security of Black women is inextricably tied to the health and prosperity of Black communities and the next generation. So, Black women, if we don't fix this issue now, it's going to be harder on y'all. So, to any people who pander, who lie to Black women, it's not going to help. It's not helping at all. We got to start being serious about this. If you care about the Black community, yes, Black men will be affected, but Black women will be affected the most. And there's another key point that I wanted to address here. Business owners, Black entrepreneurs face challenges in launching and growing their companies. We discussed businesses, but I don't think you guys knew the white statistics as well. But Black-owned businesses are fewer in number and smaller in size than their peers. They are also concentrated in sectors with challenging prospects for growth and profitability. While limited access to capital makes investing and withstanding shocks tougher. I just talked about Black-owned banks, so we can get that capital. The vast majority, 96% of all Black-owned businesses are sole proprietorships. That figure is only 80% for non-Black owned businesses. However, our analysis focuses on the representation and growth of Black owned employer businesses. And even for them, scaling up remains a challenge. In a parity scenario, Black owned businesses would generate 1.6 trillion more than they do today. So we need to employ more people within our businesses to grow, to scale up. That's another solution. This has two components. First, if the Black share of business ownership matched the Black share of the population, 615,000, more enterprises would exist, potentially generating $1 trillion in revenue, assuming current relative levels. Second, if Black-owned firms match the average scale of their industry peers, they would add another $600 billion in revenue. So it's not basically telling the Black community, because again, we only represent 13% of the population, but they are saying percentage-wise of our businesses, if we were to scale up 615,000, then we will be able to generate 1.6 trillion more than we do today, and another 1 trillion in revenue. And also it would add another 600 billion in revenue. It's solutions out there, man, you know. But for some odd reason, the Black community just don't want to listen, man. Because this was tough, bro. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all. But it does put things into perspective for the Black community. And I think this information will change some of the conversations that we have on live. All this projection and, you know, and lying, and it's the worst, man. So how y'all feel about the information from the McKinsey report? Y'all let me know in the comments.
I'm without a shade. I'm running off another game. I can't feel nothing.